Welcome into the Solo Shot Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Dom Manna. Happy Solo Shot Saturday from the beautiful ETV Community Media Center, where, thanks to some of you who tuned in, we had a record-breaking performance for our annual Great Give Telethon, over 1,700 plays. Between sponsorship money and donations, we crushed our $3,000 goal, and I am just so thankful to everyone on the team here, as well as all of you who tuned in to make that night as special as it was. We had 3 amazing music acts. We had 3 amazing guests and so many great memories throughout the night. And speaking of great memories, you guys are going to have an era where you remember the Marcus Semien and Corbin Carroll era of the show, as they were up all offseason after the World Series with the new setup. And I'm going to change it every month. I'm going to have a player from the AL and NL up, and where better to start than the April players of the month, the way too early MVP favorites to some in the American League and National League, and that is young Gunnar Henderson. I see Will Steff in the chat. Gunnar hit 10 home runs, 24 RBI, stole 6 bases, and had a 980 OPS in April. Hopefully he can keep that going. And then Mookie Betts, my National League MVP pick, has started the year on fire. A 368 batting average, 1,101 OPS, 6 home runs, 8 stolen bases for Marcus Lynn Betts. How you doing? Absolutely love to see that. And they're going to be up here for the whole month of May. So definitely Orioles and Dodgers fans rejoice getting to see those jerseys here on the show. And it has just been an amazing first month of the Major League Baseball season. Yes, there's been injuries. Yes, there has been umpires blowing calls, but baseball is back in full stride. I feel like the majority of teams are up to full speed now, and it is just incredible. Every single night there is some sort of storyline, there is some sort of performance, there is some sort of extra inning game or clutch play to tune into, and it is just absolutely beautiful. I love being able to kick back any day of the week and catch some baseball and catch some solo shots, which we are up to 546 on the tracker. Go and follow me over on X at Dominic Manna 44 to see every single solo shot home run hit in the big leagues this season. I've been tweeting all of them out. I've got another 10 or 11 to tweet out today after the show from yesterday that I didn't get to yet. And it's grind, absolute grind. I'm expecting to tweet out over 3,000 of them. So we are far from done. And far from done is what a lot of people were talking about when it came to the player that was the best of the 2010s, and that is Mike Trout. And Mike Trout is just one of the best players that I've seen play baseball. Truly a generational talent, truly a force on the field, truly a great ambassador for the game. And although he never wanted to be the face, he never wanted all the attention, he took it with grace, and he absolutely showed out as a star player in the major leagues. And it has just been absolutely gut-wrenching the past 4 or 5 seasons to see his body break down in so many different ways. We were trying to get Mike Trout back in the MVP balloting this season. He was the first Major League Baseball player to 10 home runs in 2024. He stole more bases in April than he did in all of 2023. But he unfortunately has a meniscus injury that requires surgery. The meniscus is very important. It protects the ACL and all the vital tendons in the knee. And the timetable I've seen anywhere from 6 weeks to 6 months for Mike Trout. So it's looking very unlikely that Mike Trout is able to get the extra 22 home runs he needs this season to get to 400 career home runs and be on pace for 500. And it's just a shame that we had him dealing with back injuries and a wrist injury, and now lower body injuries starting to take their toll on Mike Trout. I hope that this doesn't prevent him from being the exciting player that we've been enjoying in this first month of the season. But regardless, I do think Mike Trout will come back and will at least get to 400 career home runs. Getting to 500 is going to be tough for every big chunk of a season he misses in his 30s. But Mike Trout, I pray for a speedy recovery, and it's just a total shame. The baseball gods giveth, and the baseball gods taketh away. And Mike Trout, just life ain't fair sometimes. It really isn't, especially for such a great dude. Now, a move that shocked some happened yesterday, and I really didn't know what to make of it at first either. But Luis Arraez is now a San Diego Padre, and it is really just insane to me that batting average has been devalued all this much. He went out there and won the batting title in the American League, and the Minnesota Twins traded him. Now, the Minnesota Twins traded him for a true frontline starter in Pablo Lopez, and I think with how valuable pitching is in today's game, you could say that was a win-win trade. The Marlins, he goes and wins back-to-back batting titles in the National League. There was talks of him being the first hitter to hit 400 in a season. He ended up batting in the 330s. But Luis Arraez is truly one of the last true contact hitters in the game. And I really don't know how he keeps getting traded. I don't know if it's because of his defensive value being below league average. I don't know if it's because of how he is in the locker room. But the Marlins traded him for relief pitcher Woo-Suk Go, who has been very bad so far as his Major League Baseball time with the Padres. Outfielder prospect Dylan Head and Jacob Marcy, and first baseman prospect Nathan Martadella. Now, that is a really solid prospect haul from people that are a lot smarter than me who cover the prospects in the Padres system that seems to be relatively strong right now. And I just don't know exactly what the Padres are doing because you want a guy that hits for average like Luis Arraez. And I know that Ha-Seong Kim is going to be a free agent at season's end, but why move Xander Bogaerts to second base and then trade for a second baseman? I know Arraez is going to DH a good amount because of the defense, but next year you're going to be looking at a situation where Xander Bogaerts either has to move back to shortstop or you're going to have a single-digit home run hitting DH in Luis Arraez, which his batting average at the second base position is actually a big asset, in my opinion, but his lack of power in a DH slot would actually be kind of a detriment. And the Padres, they just gave up a decent amount of prospects to get Dylan Cease, who they only have one more year of control of after this year. I did pick the Padres to make the postseason, and I do think adding an all-star in Luis Arraez definitely doesn't hurt their chances to make it there. But it is just a little stunning to me, one, that Luis Arraez has been traded 2 times in the last 3 years, but more so that the Padres, after giving up on Juan Soto and making their trades and not signing some guys like Blake Snell, that they're being so aggressive with guys like Dylan Cease and Luis Arraez, who I don't know if they're going to be able to pay when the time comes. So interesting move there. Luis Arraez now in the National League West, hopefully being another bullet in the chamber for the Padres to try to take down the big bad Dodgers. But the real winner in this trade, to me, is the Minnesota Twins. Because while Marcy, Head, and Martitella are all relatively highly rated prospects. They're not a true ace. They're not a Pablo Lopez. They're not a frontline starter. And the Minnesota Twins not only got a frontline starter for Luis Arraez, but they were also able to give regular at-bats to guys like Royce Lewis, who's currently hurt, and Edouard Julien, who has been the same kind of thing, not a defensive second baseman, but a guy that can hit it. And he's kind of the inverse of Luis Arraez. His batting average isn't that high, but Julien hits bombs from the second base spot. So the Twins, I think, are in a really good position. The Marlins, I guess they just are giving up on this season. They've been really bad to start the year, and they know that they're not going to, I guess, lock up Luis Arraez long term. So they move off of him to get some prospects. And the Padres, a team that went like they were looking for a rebuild, are now dialing back in as contenders, adding another all-star to their vaunted team. So just really interesting, and I'd love to hear your comments on what you think of the Luis Arraez move and what the direction is for the San Diego Padres and Miami Marlins going forward. Here at the Solo Shot Sports Podcast, we like to throw it back down the third base line to this day in baseball history. And not only is May 4th Star Wars Day across the league, there will be some fun giveaways and dress ups and custom cleats and bats and all that amazing stuff. As a Star Wars appreciator, I love it very much so. I have a Mr. Met and Chewbacca bobblehead at home, but there have been a ton of great moments in baseball history here on May 4th. And it was very hard for me to actually pick this one because the first one that came up when I looked at May 4th in baseball history was May 4th, 1869. And the Cincinnati Red Stockings were the first all-professional baseball outfit, started their first ever regular season. So this was the first professional organized baseball. And they won 45-9 against the Great Westerns in Cincinnati. So that was just insane to me to read that. There were debuts of players. There were great moments for players. Barry Bonds hit his 400th career home run on this date. And there are so many amazing members, whether it be presidents, whether it be Hall of Famers, making amazing moments. Ted Williams was the first player to ever clear the right field seats at Briggs Stadium in Detroit on this date in 1939 as a rookie. That's how they kind of knew he was going to be the future of the team. Roberto Clemente made a very famous catch in the ninth to kill a rally by the Braves on this date in 1955 in his rookie season. But the rookie that I want to talk about today got his first career win on this date in 1925, Robert Lefty Grove. Now, this was a game at Yankee Stadium, and Lefty Grove came in relief for the Philadelphia Athletics. 4 innings of relief where he gave up 4 runs. And Max Bishop hit a home run off Hall of Famer Waite Hoyt in the 9th inning to tie the game and push the A's into winning the game, which got the rookie Lefty Grove's first career win. Lefty Grove is the gatekeeper of the 300 win club, a club that a lot of people don't believe we will ever see a new member of, including myself. And the fact that his first win of his career, he gave up 4 runs in relief as a rookie who was 25 years old, really puts, I think, a crazy perspective on the career of Lefty Grove, who is one of, if not the greatest left-handed pitcher to ever play in Major League Baseball. 106.8 career WAR. He won an MVP and 2 Triple Crowns, 2 World Series, and 9 whopping 9 ERA titles, 4 of which were in a row. And his peak is truly one of the greatest we've ever seen. From age 28 through 33, he had 24, 20, 28, 31, 25, and 24 wins. He had those 4 ERA titles in a row during that stretch. He had over 20 complete games every single year. And many shutouts, 35 in his career. He pitched 3,940 career innings and wasn't a huge strikeout guy. 2,226 career strikeouts, but still a respectable amount. But the ERA plus is what I kind of want to highlight here. During that stretch from age 28 through age 33, his ERA plus was 155, 149, 185, 217, 160, and 134. And those weren't even the best of his career. In his 30s in Boston, in 1935, he had an ERA plus and won the ERA title, 175. In 1936, he had a 189 ERA plus. And in 1939, he had a 185 ERA plus with a 3.22 ERA. Did not walk many batters, was a true ace, and someone that I think gets kind of left behind, falls through the cracks when you talk about the great players in the game, especially left-handers, which there seems to be far less of them. Clayton Kershaw gets a lot of love. Randy Johnson gets a lot of love. Sandy Koufax obviously gets a lot of love. But there are, I guess, 3 lefties that kind of get overlooked in the all-time lefty book, and that is Lefty Grove, Steve Carlton, and Warren Spahn. Some people could argue Carl Hubble as well, but his peak was a little bit shorter than those 3. And man, his baseball reference page is truly video game numbers. It doesn't shock me that he won an MVP. It doesn't shock me that he had MVP votes in 8 different seasons. And when you look at his strikeout per walk ratio, he was a very hard pitcher to get on base against. His fielding, independent pitching led the league a whopping 8 times. So a guy that was getting soft contact, was striking out batters, wasn't walking a lot of guys, and truly one of the greatest left-handed pitchers this game has ever seen. He got his first win in the majors as a relief pitcher, giving up 4 runs at 25 years old, and he goes on to have 300 career wins. Never say never. People can break out at many different ages throughout baseball history, and Lefty Grove is just a microcosm of that experience. Wrapping things up here at home plate, there have been plenty of promotions and demotions based off injury and performance and having options and not having options. The most famous demotion so far has been Jackson Holliday, who really struggled during his first stint in the major leagues. And I talked about it a little bit, that it didn't really make sense that he didn't make the major league roster from opening day. And if you're going to send him down to hit against lefties, you didn't give him enough of a sample size in AAA to really know if he was doing what you said he wanted to do. He had some home runs against lefties and some great plays, was hitting for a high average, but it was a very small sample. And going from AAA to the major leagues is a huge jump. It's why there are so many guys who only have cups of coffee in the majors or spell when there are injuries and are more of quadruple A players than they are true major leaguers. But there have been some debuts, including one today that I am relatively excited for. And it's not because I expect him to be on the major league roster for the rest of the season, but the New York Mets are moving to a 6-man rotation, and I'm hoping this is to get Kodai Senga back into the mix of things. But they're calling up their top pitching prospect, Christian Scott, who's starting later today. He's 6'4", throws absolute filth, and has a 11.27 K per 9 in his minor league career. This is a guy who could be an impact arm for the New York Mets. And whether he only gets one start here or really performs and earns a spot, I think it's good for the Mets that they have Senga on his way back. They have Christian Scott coming up. They've had some good performances from their lineup and their rotation and some breakouts in the bullpen. They've been competitive, more so than I even imagined they would be. So that is absolutely fantastic to see. Christian Scott, definitely check out his major league debut today. He gave up a lot of home runs in the minor leagues, which isn't uncommon for a flamethrower, but he's a guy that I think has the ability to strike out a lot of batters and to be an impact arm. So that's very exciting for the New York Mets. Tyler Black made his debut for the Milwaukee Brewers earlier this week. He's a guy that doesn't really have a true everyday spot yet because the Brewers have a ton of infielders, but he is a very talented guy who I think has the ability to get everyday at bats if they continue to show him the way that he has been showcased. And I hope that'll pick up guys like Jackson Chourio, who's also kind of struggled since being hot to start the season. A lot of people have been pointing to the big, heavy rookie of the year favorites, Jackson Chourio, Jackson Holliday, and Wyatt Langford, have all kind of had really rough starts to the Major League Baseball season. All I'm going to say is it's been a month. And baseball is the hardest sport there is. The best of the best Hall of Famers have bad months. The adjustment from AAA, some of these guys went from AA straight to the majors, is enormous. I'm not saying they're all going to hit, but there is going to be growth. There is going to be adjustments, and these players that were touted very much so are going to finish better than they are right now. And I think that's really exciting because people were freaking out about Yoshinobu Yamamoto after his first start, and he just threw an absolute gem this week. There are so many games, so many opportunities to get better in today's game with the training, with the film, all the different things that are at the player's disposal. Not every player is going to be a hit. Not every player is going to win Rookie of the Year. But relax when your favorite player gets called up or your favorite player gets demoted, because the majority of great players have had the same thing happen to them. They've had struggles in their career, and they've figured things out. The truly great ones do. I appreciate you guys spending part of your Solo Shot Saturday with me. I hope this episode helps you get through part of your day or part of your week if you're listening later on. And I will catch you guys next Solo Shot Saturday with more baseball takes around the bases. Peace.